a life of entrepreneurial freedom with insights from successful creatives, entrepreneurs, and investors. Discover how they overcame challenges and turned their biggest dreams into reality. They share their personal success playbook so you can build the business and life you truly want. Welcome to Passion Millionaire, the podcast by Robert Roth. Rock and roll your dreams.
Welcome to this episode of the Passion Millionaire podcast. I'm again super excited for a reason, because the guest today, you have seen his name already. He is somebody who is in the works of building a startup right now, a tech startup, a software that I have used through a client's account myself. So I could test it and I can say it's really something worth testing as well. He's in the space of LinkedIn relationship, partnership building, I would say, and a super great person. And I'm myself, again, excited to learn from him, learn more about the history and learn all the hacks, tips and tricks that we can all use as an entrepreneur. So therefore, please help me welcome Rory Mackenzie. And Rory, feel free to reintroduce yourself the way you'd love.
I don't know if I could do any better. Thanks, Robert, for the introduction, and happy to be on the podcast with you. Stay amplified is my tagline. So, to all of you out there that may one day listen to this or are listening, stay amplified. And I look forward to seeing you more on LinkedIn and during our journey on the platform.
Yeah, super exciting. I mean, maybe let's also address this real quick so the listeners have an idea about where you're at with your company right now. And then I'd like to dig in, like, how did you get there? But I would say you run a tech startup, and so it's a subscription-based offer that you have. And so that's not like that you get clients that are paying you $100,000 for a project or something like that. So it's smaller amounts that are adding up. And therefore, I mean, you're roundabout like 7 figures. So please correct also, but like getting to those numbers, I believe is a pretty inspiring achievement, and you're growing pretty fast. So please correct what I just said. And then I'd be curious to just let us know how you got there.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, the long and the short of the way that I got there is I had a need for a solution in this space. And, my vibe coding skills are suspect at best. So I needed to find some good partners that could do these things for me. And so I was doing a lot of LinkedIn outbound manually years ago. And so I got connected with a really good, bunch of partners, and was able to, I guess, some of the easiest ways to do things fast is to, get someone else to build your software for you, right? And so nowadays, I guess you'd call that a white label software. So I was able to start by white labeling a software where I then became kind of partners with the mothership, if you will, to do both, right? So my Sales Crusader is my company, and it's called Sales Crusader Consulting. And so our SaaS product obviously lives kind of under the umbrella of a white label. And so we do sell it at like small levels, as you mentioned, just like self-directed plans, but we do help entrepreneurs, of course, enterprise level clients that are trying to leverage the tech as well. So we're actually starting to get into those bigger figures, Robert, where, our customers can have a spend of anywhere, between $10,000 and $100,000 ARR, right? To basically bring the level of automation on LinkedIn and AI to whole platforms that might not already have that as a capacity, right? Because as you very well know, these days in GTM and going to market, whether you're a startup where you're just making your first $1,000, or you're a multi-million-dollar annual revenue recurring business, you're going to need that vertical integration to really help tie in the LinkedIn stack to what you're doing. Because as we found, LinkedIn is, I would say, the second best place, right, to do business, because obviously the first best place is networking, like we're doing, and in person, of course. But LinkedIn's the next best place because that's where we met.
Yeah, 100% right. I agree. So maybe let us know also, like, what exactly does Sales Crusader do, and how is it also special?
Sure. So what Sales Crusader does is we help people sell, right? And so
Mhm.
one of the spokes, I guess you would say, in the wheel is the SaaS part, and that's where we actually connect LinkedIn profiles and use a whole combination of software and also just strategy to tackle building relationships at scale on LinkedIn, right? Because no one wants to feel spammy. You don't want to feel like there's a bot talking to you. And so all the messages that are coming out of our platform from the outbound side are all, human generated messages. So we send them, on our own behalf, on our customers' behalf. And then what we do is we complement those things a lot different than a lot of other products out there, right? Because I mean, you can do your research, you can go and find. There's a lot of pretty girls in the room, if you will, for marketing, right? And so you can look at a shiny LinkedIn automation tool and be like, oh, that looks sweet. Well, that's awesome. Well, what we do, we're different, is because we're not the pretty girl at the dance. We're the girl that kisses you goodnight, right? We're the one that actually works. And so we combine, the automation of outbound with inbound automation and AI replies that are all trained on your standard operating procedure for whatever your business is. So you get a customized, language model. I always like to joke and say it's the little language model. You get your 5 or 6 page document customized by our tech, and you're able to edit it, to the point where you would drive it in either Copilot in terms of approve the messages that are pre-written for you, or have them driven totally on autopilot. And I've had weeks where I've just driven my profile on autopilot, and we're booking 8 meetings in a week on one profile. And so when you understand your target market, and your niche, and who you're really going after, being able to really 20x your LinkedIn output is how I would describe it, is the best way forward. And so, yeah, that's kind of how we do it. There's a lot more to it. I can kind of continue down that road if you'd like.
Uh-huh.
We also combine that AI reply feature with AI
Yeah,
comments.
maybe before you go into that, like, let me try to summarize that, and then see if we understood it correctly. Because basically, what you've explained means, if I use my LinkedIn personally, I reply to the messages, etc., etc. Like, I have a certain way of thinking and a certain way of writing my messages, right? So I'm basically, you are teaching, or I'm able to teach my way of doing the manual work of answering those messages to the AI, and the AI is able to replicate the way I would write and does it on automation.
That's exactly right. And then I would also add that you can further train it on your offer, right? Because it's great that it will talk in your voice, but it's also great that will, take it further and actually understand and know about, your products or your platform or your service or, your consultancy, or any other feature really that you want, right? Because we have it set up so that everything that comes through there is got like a pre-scripted question and answer that you have to respond to make sure that our AI actually understands what it is that you're trying to say, but also what it is that you're trying to accomplish, right? So whether that being sell a product, book a meeting, direct people to a website, right? You can customize the reply to do exactly what it is you want it to do, as opposed to just a very generic, one-dimensional kind of task, for example, of just booking a meeting, which, hey, there's also nothing wrong with that, because that's what we're in the game of, is booking meetings for sales at Sales Crusader.
Yep. But I would say that approach is really interesting, because it's less manual work, but it's still like manual work. And I think that is really a differentiator, because we know there's a lot of tools out there, and most of them kind of have pre-scripted versions, or if they can generate the answers, then still you don't really, you cannot have it learn to understand and then create messages itself within those boundaries, right? So that, I think there is a differentiator. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I have not seen a tool out there that can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely one of the few in the marketplace that can, combine the AI reply in that with that level of kind of granularity and learning. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's a new age of AI right now, and so I'm sure that competition will be out there, etc., and people will be trying to incorporate these features. But as of right now, yeah, there's not much by way of conversational AI on LinkedIn to the very specific, and as I mentioned, kind of granularity of a voice and of an offer, and then
Yeah.
of a direction on that offer. So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, pretty exciting. And also, I mean, nobody wants to lose his LinkedIn account. Like that's something we have talked about before. Um, like that's something you take an extra care of, right? So maybe you want to say something about that in a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. No. Absolutely. I mean, LinkedIn assets are very important, right? And so people have now thousands, if not tens of thousands of, connections, and then, hundreds of thousands of followers sometimes. And so deviating from, best practices is something that we absolutely don't do. And so in terms of the safety feature, as you mentioned, we drive only in safe mode so that there's never any use cases where there'd be any sort of ban or limitation. Uh, to be honest with you, the only time that I've ever been banned is when I was doing manual outreach. And I guess I was doing too much, and LinkedIn said, stop working so hard. And so I got a 24-hour ban. And we don't do that. There's, LinkedIn limits are between 20 and 40 outbounds a day. And then, depending on the touch points, it can vary a little bit by, holistically how many touches you're doing on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
But we'll actually yield as well. So if, Robert, you decide that tomorrow you forgot that you were using any sort of automation and decided to send an extra 20 connection requests, well, we would actually slow your profile or actually stop doing outreach on your behalf entirely and give you a warning within our platform, because that's how, seriously we take not only the driving of the profile, but obviously, our customers and our kind of way of doing things.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, super, super important. I'd be curious. Let's hop back now that we have a little bit of understanding what this software is actually doing. Um, like, how did you get started with this?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, long story. But I guess the quick version, I know we don't have too much time here. I have a background in education, and so I come from that kind of side where I love learning, and so I've always had a desire to learn and to grow. And I had an opportunity to work for a startup, doing sales and becoming their chief sales officer. And so I kind of was using that as a stepping stone, and that was with LeadBright and the uh,
Mhm.
the famous Martin Borowski. And so I was helping him out. And so there came a point in time where he was pivoting into a new tech, and so there was some wiggle room for me to kind of just do my own thing, and I needed something new to explore and discover. And so I started down the road of LinkedIn sales, where that was something I was using highly for them. And, come full circle, as I mentioned, started the partnership search where I needed, the tech to get behind my ideas of sales on LinkedIn. And so I got to give another shout out to Sarav Gupta and Sales Robot, because those are the guys that really helped um, me in formulating the product that I wanted. Because, you know, a lot of times, you get a platform now, like a white label platform or something, where you just take the thing and you go, and good luck to you. Um,
Mhm.
let's call a spade here. There isn't much in terms of support. You kind of take the keys and you go drive, and good luck if you know how to do it. But these guys, we've been in conversation and working together for a long time, like over 4 years, where if I needed something, it became my own and it was done. And so
Mhm.
the ability for me to really shape the product and shape Sales Crusader started happening almost instantly. And so that's one of the key things I guess I would mention to, the founders out there and people looking to grow and network and, at the end of the day, of course, provide for their family, is to really find, importantly, the most solid people, right, to build those relationships with, to build the business. Because, without that, it becomes really, really difficult, right? And you're kind of left in the lurch, or you're not fully able to, long story short, you're not able to be successful. And so I was able to leverage the technology and the relationships that I had built, getting into the SaaS side of things. So much so now that, as we chatted before, like the mothership's almost at 7 figures. We're doing over 6 figures happily, and everything is just onwards and upwards, right? Don't say you're not going to work hard, because if you start a business and you think it's all going to be residual, you're not thinking clearly. But if you have that kind of drive and desire to learn and grow, then I think really the world is your oyster, and LinkedIn's a great place to start.
Yeah, agree. I'm also curious. I mean, now so basically you said to make that clear, you were part of the founding team, right?
Yeah, I was one of the initial kind of users, I guess you would say, right? So
Okay.
much so that now I'm I guess a full-blown member of that team, but also have my own team, right? Because as businesses grow, you need more and more people to help. Obviously, having the AI side of things helps on the outbound and the sales side, so that's kind of great in the marketing spend. So we do reduce headcount in that capacity, but as you very well know, you need salespeople on the other end of the line too, right? So shout out to my director George, who is always crushing it.
Yep. I'd be curious to learn more about that structure in the beginning, like when you hopped on. So how many founding members were there? And also once you hopped on, so there was something existing already. Was
Yeah, no,
money being made? What was the revenue roughly, if you can speak about that? And then I'd be curious, how that transformed, and also like what does it mean? Okay, there's the mothership, and then there's my company. So
yeah, I mean it's
about the structure, to learn how
sure.
this thing grew. Yeah.
Well, again, this is about partnerships, right? And so, structurally, like Sales Crusader started at 0. And so we're a 2-year-old company, but probably have only had the lights officially on for about a year and a half. The first 5 months after we got started was kind of just a learning and growing phase, and just really trying to get all of our ducks in a row, if you will, ready to go to market ourselves, and to really figure out our name and brand and voice. And we're still learning on that side too, of course, and iterating, right? But yeah, it's been about a year and a half, and we've gone from 0 to 6 figures, which has been great. And so that's been really, really handy. And I know that, if you follow Sarav, my partner, on his side, because it's like they're 2 separate entities, in that capacity. Yeah, you can follow him, follow his podcast. He also has email newsletters that go out every week. He's got like a weekly growth, we call it, he calls it, but to 10,000 users. And so, I mean, I think we're at about 5,000 now. And so, yeah, I mean, like, you just follow him. He's great. He's the marketing guru of that side. I'm definitely getting my feet wet on it from the Sales Crusader side. But like I mentioned, that's one of the kind of the spokes in the wheel for Sales Crusader Consulting. We do have a couple of other avenues that we generate revenue with, and that's kind of, we help with like requests for proposals, and spend, like marketing spend on things like contracts for other businesses, right? Because Sales Crusader is also a consulting company, and so we're basically helping people sell, right? And so there's the LinkedIn spoke, there's the going after agency and government spoke, and we're adding new spokes. I mean, I wouldn't say every day, but every few months or thereabouts, there's always something else that can be kind of easily incorporated under the umbrella. So much so that, we can help other businesses sell. And that's kind of been my goal with this whole thing.
Yeah, interesting. So you're saying Sales Crusader, the software, has about 5,000 users right now, in that ballpark?
Yeah. The Sales Crusader sales robot, kind of, I guess, partnership, right? Because as I mentioned, they're they were the original, obviously. They're the awesome guys who wrote all this programming. I think I mentioned before, but my vibe coding is suspect at best. I'm actually getting to the point where I will be dropping another app shortly. I won't put it here yet because I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I think we're within the next month or so going to be getting that out the door. So I'm pretty excited about that from my standpoint. But yeah,
keep me posted about that. Yeah, for sure.
I will.
Maybe I cut you off there because there's still something I'd like to understand how this grew in the beginning. So this company, Sales Robot, as you said, like you are actually also doing basically consulting work, right? So that was existing first, I assume, and then out of the experiences that they made, out of the customers they won, they figured out, okay, if we would build a software, this one would be a good one that has a need. Is that kind of how that went? And then you hopped on board as somebody trying to help.
Yeah, I mean, as
Sales Crusader, is that how that went?
Yeah, as a brand, right? Yeah, no, absolutely, as a brand, because as I mentioned before, like my whole kind of, I wanted to build relationships at scale on LinkedIn. I knew that was the avenue I wanted to take. I had a kind of epiphany on, calling this company Sales Crusader. I knew it was going to be a consulting company. And so, I was able to, as I mentioned, kind of establish a relationship where, before, I guess, as I mentioned, like white labels or whatever were popular, we were able to kind of say, hey, is this tech for sale? Can I use this tech? You know what I mean? And so the answer was yes. And so it was great. It was amazing because I was able to, umbrella the technology as a spoke in the wheel. I mean, you look at you look at some big players, et cetera. You want to look at the Cold IQs, for example. I think they're probably at the 6 million ARR right now. I mean, look at their tech stack, right? What are they doing? They're just umbrellaing a whole bunch of different platforms, HeyReach, Apollo, like you name it, right? Clay. Okay, great. Well, what I've done is I found a team and a product in the sales robot side of things where most of that is taken care of already. And two, as I mentioned earlier, really the input from, users like myself who, are very passionate, obviously, and driven and really hardworking on the side of making this and wanting Sales Crusader to be successful, that my input actually matters to the, to the sales robot team and to the whole overall product. Right. And not only the product, but the customer journey and experience. And so much so that, now both of us have a very, good relationship. So we pass, customers and or learnings and or, help support back and forth. Right. And that's the whole name of the game is building those relationships and finding the right people that you're able to do business with so you can start your business. Because again, I am not a rocket scientist. And so I am a startup founder who is leveraging tools and leveraging platforms, obviously in LinkedIn, to go out there and make it on my own, right? And so, you can do it. If you're listening, you can absolutely do it. And you can take, the learnings of going and finding those best type of softwares that you want and trying to umbrella them. And as long as you can make that recipe work where you can get leads in the door, right? Nor as I say, really, I mean, I almost never say leads, to be quite honest. I always say just, build new relationships because you got to see who's out there. And the only way to do that at scale is to, use Sales Crusader. That's all I can say.
Was there a point where you thought like, okay, this is not working. Like we are not gonna get this out. People don't like it. So maybe it was a great idea, but we have to pack this in and something you had to overcome.
Oh, 100%. I mean, when we first opened the doors about 2 years ago, as I mentioned, we're trying to understand the brand. We're trying to understand, who we're going to target, are we going to target startups? Are we going to target small businesses? Are we going to target mid-sized businesses? And so that kind of iteration really, it took a little bit of time, right? And so for the first sale, it took 4 months or something, or 3 months or something. I couldn't believe how, I was new. I literally had an idea and I just ran with it, right? So I'd like to, lie and say that I had all of this, market knowledge and I did all of this market analysis. But my analysis was, oh my God, the amount of people that I can connect with on LinkedIn that I've been doing manually over the past, couple of years has been so successful, right? That how could it not be successful if I continued? And so getting the brand and getting my voice, I think, and the team's voice kind of in unison and in line from the Sales Crusader side was kind of huge. And that was a pretty big obstacle, I think, because having a few months go by where, you invest a lot of time and energy and money into trying to leverage all these different tools and all these, the platforms, and of course, just your time generally, right, is one of the biggest things that I struggled with. And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, start to get the traction. You start to narrow your focus a little bit. I think we started too broadly speaking. And so we started to really focus down. And then, learning that, our ideal customers weren't necessarily only, entrepreneurs or startups, but actually people looking to vertically integrate and to actually take, their go-to-market teams and their tech stacks to the next level by including, the LinkedIn automation and then all of those other pieces really made the most sense, right? And so that's led us to also have conversations and to build out a whole other side of the infrastructure on the platform and on the SaaS, which is we're not only doing automation now, we're not only doing AI reply now, but we're also doing AI generated comments that are meaningful, that can be tailored, just like you would our AI reply feature, where you can train it like yourself, etc. But you can also do things like go after posts, so post commenters. So when you have a viral post or someone in your network or someone you follow has a viral post that your customers are living in those comments, you can now go after the comments, right? Because Robert, as I'm sure you're aware, like the impressions on comments now and the way that you engage on LinkedIn is changing, not only to have, people message each other, of course, but now to the actual commenting, right? Because, people's inboxes are full. They don't want to just get another message necessarily, right? Unless it's going to be hitting spot on to that particular demographic that you're going after, which of course we can help with, but having the other kind of arrow in the quiver to then go after post commenters, LinkedIn events, and pretty much anything else LinkedIn has available as a list of people that you can really build those relationships at, we can do. So there's a whole other side of the platform now as opposed to just the automation.
Yeah. Wow. That's an interesting feature as well. And I'd be curious, like when you said like it took a while to figure out the ICP, ideal client profile, and then you figured, okay, it's more people that are looking to vertically integrate. So how did you figure this out? And can you describe maybe a typical client for you? And that probably also helps to understand.
Sure. So I mean, going down the white label rabbit hole, if you will. I mean,
Mhm.
white label is now much more out there. People understand that you can easily take a company or a product or a service and rebrand it as your own when it fits the bill, it fits the need. So one of our targets and one of our really our strengths is supporting white label customers now. And so going after people that have the need for that vertically integrated LinkedIn piece that they're missing is huge, right? Because marketing agencies, other agencies that have a lead generation problem and a brand building problem, and even a time savings problem, right? Where you can't spend 20 hours on LinkedIn this week. You just want to be able to do all those things automatically. Those are the people that we help the most now. So we sign and I sign up now white label clients, and we go
So
after agencies.
agencies. Okay. Who else would that be? Yeah.
Yeah, mostly agencies. That's kind of been the real kind of, I guess, focal point now. So for example, like go high level agencies, right? Because that's a huge kind of niche for us that we fit the best with, because we can integrate extremely easily with those types of organizations where you have a bunch of hustlers who have already white labeled the platform Go High Level, who are already ready. They understand, they're hungry, they're hardworking, right? But they don't have the automation side of LinkedIn. And not just the automation side, of course, as I mentioned, but pretty much any other feature that you'd like to leverage on LinkedIn, right, can be done now within their Go High Level platform in their agency.
Interesting. And was there an aha moment when you when you were working and figuring like, wow, why didn't we see this?
I mean, I think a lot of it comes from, learning from your competition as well. And so, having looked at and studied and just been around a lot of, lead generation over the last few years, you can look at where they are targeting, right? And so, the 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 Hey Reaches of the world, them and Clay are like, tight, right? It's like if you say Hey Reach or you say Clay, the other one's kind of in the sentence, right? And so that was the kind of aha moment, I think, where I was like, okay, where's our niche? What are we going to focus on, right? What kind of agency or what kind of, stack would we best kind of, correspond with? Now, that being said, we basically have a native integration with Clay as well. So, I mean, heck, we're, I don't want to toot our own horn, but from the product side, I mean, hook us up. but yeah, that's kind of how we kind of went about it. Just kind of learning by doing, learning by errors. I guess that's most of the time the learning. I mean, I always say like to my students when it comes to the background on education is really really smart people learn on their own, and they learn from doing the things, but average intelligence you have to learn by doing, right? And you just learn from your mistakes and you learn and go and do those things. And obviously people that are of maybe lesser intellect, they think they know everything. So make sure you're not in that category, and you'll be just fine.
Makes sense. Yeah. I have two last questions I'd be super curious about. Like, what is the vision for Sales Crusader?
The vision. Oh, I like that. I think the vision for Sales Crusader in the next, 3 to 5 years is going to be to, leverage all of the learnings that we've been able to accomplish, and whatever I've been able to learn and grow with, and really manifest that into the next thing, right? Because I'm a long-term thinker, and I don't necessarily think that this is a business that will necessarily be around in 20 years, right? Could be. But having the opportunity to, kind of look at other avenues, right, will be kind of I think the next thing. Like, as I mentioned before, I have another app coming, and maybe when that drops, we can have another conversation, Robert. And so there's a few other kind of things in the pipeline for us that are not yet just like, unnamed or what was I going to say? Like, if you don't want to reveal your new child or your new child's, gender or name, just like I would not necessarily like to reveal the next steps, but I think that's kind of where we're at right now. But yeah, but in specifically for LinkedIn is just keeping on growing and helping support our customers and reaching those new agency markets, and really excited for the next year or two ahead.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Curious what that's going to be then. If you leave it in the dark, we have to find out as we go. Final question, like with all your experience in life, in business, in building a startup, if you could give one advice to the listeners that are building a startup, their own business in whatever way, you could only give this one advice, which one would it be? Because you think it's the most helpful one, even for a generic situation to apply.
I think being the hardest working person is the piece of advice that I would give, because I would, never say that I was the smartest person, or I'd never say that I knew the most, or, again, I can joke about my vibe coding skills all day long because it's pretty horrible. But when it comes down to the one thing I know about myself is that I can work really hard, and I can just, wake up at whatever hour in the morning, and I can go to bed at whatever hour at night. And, having great family support helps on my end. I've got a beautiful wife and kid who just, love me to death and let me do all my crazy things. So that helps. But I would say being the hardest working person that you can and not being afraid of whatever comes out after that. I think for me, if there's one piece, that's the one.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it. And then whoever wants to get in contact for Sales Crusader, maybe even using the software, whatever other reason, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, for sure. So if you want to use the software directly, you can go to the app, which is app.salescrusader.com. If you want to connect with me, you can just look me up on LinkedIn. And so on LinkedIn, my LinkedIn profile is linkedin.com/in/Rory Mack, and Mack is MACK. And of course, you can always email me at rory@salescrusader.com.
Excellent. Rory, we're going to also write that into the description of the podcast. Thanks so much again for letting us know all the inside secrets of Sales Crusader and how you went on building that.
Right on.
Best.
Robert, my pleasure. Cheers.
Cheers.
Go to rockandrollyourdreams.com/podcast.